11 ships jumped into the one place in the galaxy where nothing ever comes back. Not pirates, not black holes. Not even light survives the Ashfall Expanse. Every fleet that enters it simply stops existing. No wreckage, no distress signal, no explanation. For 300 years, it has been the galaxy's final warning. Turn back now. Battle-Commander Threx Vaan turned her fleet toward it anyway, because 47 ships had left with her 6 months ago. 11 remained, and the thing hunting them down had never once stopped to ask for surrender. She would rather vanish into a legend than die running from a monster. She had no idea the legend was waiting for her with open eyes. For 6 months, the Kreel Dominion had been losing a war they didn't start. A rival empire, the Sassivar Concord, had unleashed something new. Warships that didn't fight like warships. They fought like they were hunting. No warnings, no demands for surrender, just relentless, silent pursuit across a dozen systems, picking off Kreel colonies one by one. Threx Vaan's fleet was what remained of the 3rd Defense Armada, 11 ships down from 47. Her crews hadn't slept properly in weeks, her fuel reserves were critical, and the Sassivar hunter ships were 4 hours behind her and closing. Her tactical officer, a nervous young Kreel named Desic, pointed at the only clear route on the star chart. A long, silent stretch of space, nobody mapped past its outer edge. "The Expanse," he said. "Command, that's—" "I know what it is," Threx said. "It's the only place they won't follow us." "With respect, ma'am, it's the only place nothing comes back from." Threx looked at the tactical display, at the 11 red icons that used to be 47, and made her choice. "Then we'll be the first." The jump into the Expanse felt wrong. Every Kreel pilot said the same thing afterward. It was like the ship's engines were pushing against something that didn't want to let them through. Then, without warning, they were in. No stars. Just a dim, red-brown haze that swallowed sensor range down to almost nothing. The 11 ships drifted in formation, engines idling, waiting for the death they'd been told to expect. It didn't come. Instead, 20 minutes later, a voice came over an open channel. Calm, almost bored, and speaking passable Kreel with a strange, flat accent. "Unidentified fleet, you are inside a restricted monitoring zone. Cut your engines to standby and prepare to be boarded for inspection, or you will be escorted out by force. This is your only warning." Threx's bridge went dead silent. That's a language translator," Desic whispered. "Command, something's alive out here." What emerged from the haze wasn't a monster. It wasn't a swarm of ancient horrors, or a black hole with teeth, or any of the 1,000 theories that had circulated for centuries about the Expanse. It was a picket line. Ordinary-looking warships, mid-sized, unremarkable hulls, except for the fact that there were hundreds of them, arranged in a perimeter that stretched farther than Threx's sensors could measure, even at close range. And behind that picket line, faintly visible through the haze, shipyards, habitats, lights, a civilization. "Identify yourselves," Threx said, forcing steadiness into her voice. A pause. Then, "We're the ones who've been keeping this system quiet for the last 300 years. You can call us humans. Now, why don't you tell us why an armed Kreel battle fleet just jumped into our front yard at combat readiness?" Threx's crew stared at each other. Humans were a myth to most of the galaxy, a species mentioned in old trade guild rumors, blamed for a handful of unexplained disappearances near unclaimed space, and then never confirmed to actually exist. A campfire story other species used to explain the unexplainable. The campfire story had a fleet. And it had found them first. Threx did the only thing that made sense. She told the truth. The Sassivar hunter ships, the dead colonies, the 6 months of running, the desperate jump into a zone everyone said was a graveyard, because a graveyard was better odds than staying and dying for certain. There was a long silence on the channel, then the human commander spoke again, and this time there was no boredom in the voice at all. "You said hunter ships. No warnings, no demands, just pursuit and elimination. That's not standard Sassivar doctrine. That's not doctrine at all. That's someone testing a new toy on a live population." "You know the Sassivar?" Desic asked. "We know their neighbors. We know how their war usually goes. What you're describing isn't a war. It's a cull." 40 minutes later, the Sasivar hunter fleet jumped into the expanse behind them, still tracking the Creel ship's engine signatures. They found out, in the last 30 seconds of their existence, exactly why nothing ever came back out of the Ashfall Expanse. The human picket line didn't hail them, didn't warn them, didn't ask why they were there. It simply opened fire, coordinated, precise, and utterly without hesitation, and in under 2 minutes, the Sasivar fleet that had chased 11 crippled Creel ships across 6 systems ceased to exist. Threx watched the wreckage cloud spread across her sensors and said nothing for a long moment. The human commander's voice returned, quieter now. "You're not the first refugees to stumble in here, Commander. You won't be the last. We don't advertise what's on the other side of that haze, because the second the galaxy knows there's a habitable, defended system out here, every empire with a grudge and a fleet starts thinking about who gets here first. Then why help us? Because you ran toward the thing everyone's afraid of, instead of dying on your knees waiting for it to catch you. That's usually a good sign about a species." A pause. "Power down your weapons, Commander Vaan. Follow the beacon we're transmitting. Your people look like they could use a place to actually sleep." For the first time in 6 months, Threx Vaan closed her eyes and let herself breathe. The Creel refugee fleet was the 11th group to find their way into the Ashfall Expanse in the last decade. Every single one of them arrived the same way, desperate, dying, chased by something worse than the myths that guarded this space. And every single one of them asked the same question, once they were finally safe. "Why do you hide? If you're this strong, why stay hidden at all?" The humans always gave the same answer. "Because the last time we didn't, half the galaxy tried to burn our homeworld down. We learned. Now the galaxy just tells ghost stories about the empty zone nobody returns from, and we let them." Somewhere in the dark of the Ashfall Expanse, the lights of a hidden human civilization burned quietly on, patient, watchful, and very much not alone anymore.